basic structure of how to put together a yogic numerology pattern. What you do is you look at the date, and the soul number becomes the day. So the soul number is the day. So if you add the 1 and the 6 together, you get a 7. The karma number is the month. And in this case, it's an 8. The gift number, again, is the last 2 digits of the number added together. So the last 2 digits of the year. And so in this case, it's a 6 and a 0, which actually is a 6. Then the path is always the full year. So in this case, it's 1960. And so anybody born in 1900, you're going to add the 1 and the 9 together, which happens to be a 10, which is a 1. And then you add the 6 and the 0, so it would be 1 plus 6 plus 0, which is going to be a 7. So the easy way to do it is anybody who's born in 1900 is going to just, you're going to add 1. So it's the full year. So in this case, it'll be 7. So, but on anybody's year, if it was 1955, you're going to add 5 and 5 together, which is a 10, and add 1, which is an 11. Okay. So you're just going to always add 1. And then the destiny number is the entire year added together. So in this case, it's 8 plus 1 plus 6 plus 1 plus 9 plus 6 plus 0. And in that case, it's a 22, which is a 4. So it's the full date. And so that's a 4. So, then if you add the year, what we do with the year is that this is your birth date, but in the year, what we're going to do is we're going to remove this year, and we're going to put in this, the year we're in, which at the moment is 2010. So what you're going to do is you're going to cross off that date. You're going to add 8, 16, and add 2010. So if you add that together, what you've got is 10, 16, 17, 18, which is a 9. Now, what's important is that everybody's year starts at their birthday, which means this year of 9 doesn't start until the birthday 8/16/2010. So obviously right now we happen to be in May, but we're not really to this 9. So that means that the person is in the year before, which is an 8. Okay, so that means that from 8/16/2009 to 8/16/2010, that person is in an 8 year. From 8/16/2010 to 8/16/2011, the person is in a 9 year. Let's see how that's working. Okay, so the soul number, we're just starting with that for a second. The soul number is actually also going to be about your last past life. So I'm going to erase this to create a new pattern here. So your soul number tells you about your last life. Your karma is what you're working on. Your gift is your gifts from many past lives. Your path is how your karma is going to show up in this life. And the destiny is where you want to get to by the time you're 45. Okay, now, we're going to go further into this because it starts to get really interesting. So the soul number being the last life, meaning the day, whatever you did in your last life, you walk in with it kind of as a soul vibration in your energy field. So what's tricky about numerology is people will say to me, well, what's my number? And in my system I go, this person is a 7, an 8, a 6, a 7, and a 4, right? So they're not one number, they're a combination of numbers. So sometimes people think that the full year is the destiny number, and that's what they associate as my number is a 22-4. So that's, and the American system has this thing about the 22-4, and so that's why I'm using that as an example so people can understand. But in my system, you're all of these. Okay, so you're all of these vibrations at once. The soul number from your last life, you can kind of look at it and go, okay, in what I was doing in my last life, whatever I did, I'm carrying that energy forward in this life, and so it's sort of familiar. It's kind of the thing that I kind of want to do. It's easy for me. I kind of have a memory of that. It's a repeat. But sometimes that can be a problem because what somebody was doing in their last lifetime, they might totally be not doing in this lifetime. And so you get people that are like wanting something that actually happened in the last life, but they can't seem to get it in this life, and so they're trying to recreate something that was really cool. So as an easy example, I had a person who in their last life, they were being a very powerful person. In this life, their karma was humility, which, so you can imagine, like, let's say somebody has a soul of 10, and the 10 is Alexander the Great again, and their karma is a 1. So their karma is humility. So if somebody was very powerful in their last lifetime and they've got a karma of humility, what were they doing? They were not humble as a powerful person, were they? See, so what happens is that you have to kind of use your left brain with this and kind of go, oh, they must have done something not so good, right? Right. And so now they're learning humility. So in this particular case with this person, they kept wanting all the power. They kept wanting all the power, and yet they wouldn't be humble. They wouldn't be humble. They were arrogant, and they were difficult, and they were pompous. Now, this isn't everybody, because you could have somebody who had that combination, and I met another person who had that combination, and this person was very powerful in their own right in this lifetime, but they had really, really good friends, and they were really sincere, and they had made their money with a tight-knit group of friends, and they all worked together, and nobody was more important than the other, and so they got all their power back, because you can again turn the 1 karma of humility into power if you're humble. Like, you can actually flip it around, right? But if you're not humble, it keeps getting worse and worse and worse, right? So I can give you another example that I had a person who had a soul of 9, which means in their last lifetime they were being the artist, and they were really emotional and really sensitive and really intuitive and magical and all that kind of stuff. And their karma in this lifetime was a 5, which is earth energy, healing and teaching, okay? And so this person had incredible skill related to textures and colors and quilting and all this kind of stuff, but they always felt like they never got anywhere because they were busy being a mom and raising kids, taking care of her father, taking care of her husband. Like, she got caught in the 5 vibration. She was so mad about it because she's like, I know I have this incredible skill, and I've raised kids that are incredible artists, and why am I not? I can't. I mean, I've written and I've done all this, but she never got known. But she was already known in the last lifetime for it, and in this lifetime she wanted babies and home and children and stability, and like, she changed what she wanted, right? So it's kind of important to kind of look at that duality between a soul number and a karma number, because it changes how you feel about it a little bit, okay? So karma is obviously what you're working on, and so what you're working on in this lifetime is sort of like, I signed up for this, I signed up to learn this particular lesson in some way. And in this particular case, again, what we've got is a person who has a soul of 7, and the 7 vibration, again, is about strategies and structures and patterns. So in that last lifetime, the person was like strategizing and planning and seeing the picture and doing all the little steps along the way in some way. And you want to think of careers like architecture or city planning or legislators or senators in Rome, or somebody who, like, I have this picture and then we have these structures that we have to follow, right? So that person loves a structure, and yet this person's karma in this lifetime is that as above, so below, as below, so above. The karma is Ananda, which is about unresolved sadness from past lives. So what this means is that this person doesn't want to be sad. So again, looking at the 816, it's like it's a Leo. Okay, so again, Leos don't like to be sad. So here's this person that they love a structure. I'm going to create a structure. I'm going to stay in this little box. Why? Because then I feel safe. And when I feel safe, I'm not going to bump into the sadness pile that's over here that I've built up over lifetime. So if I just keep everything in a structure and don't upset my apple cart at all, I'm going to feel safe, right? But they still have this karma of unresolved sadness. Okay, so you can imagine that this person's going to spend a lot of time, trying to control everything, right? Trying to control everything to the best of their ability, and yet they're going to be very, very sad on the inside, because if you are controlling everything, does anybody really know who you are? Not really, right? And so this sadness is like, is anybody ever going to really know me completely deep down on the inside, okay? So this is about breath and prana again, so it's about yoga. So again, in this particular case, I would tell a person to do yoga, to do mantras, to do breathing, to do rebirthing, to run, to exercise. They need to huff and puff, they need to blow this grief out of their body somehow, whatever way is constructive for them, but they need to breathe. They need to make sure their body is oxygenated in some way, shape, and form. Now, what's interesting about this is an interesting phenomenon, and I'm using this from a couple of examples. There's a couple of people that have this, the 816 vibration, and what was amazing, well, actually there's more than that, but every person that had this combination actually had some sort of breathing problem. Now, one of them actually found out when she was 52 that her windpipe was the width of a straw. And so her PO2, her oxygen levels, were so low that she should be dead. And she'd never been able to opt to exercise, and she could only do yoga where she had to really breathe. And so she's basically been living her life with this much oxygen. So they went in and they broke her jaw, moved her whole jaw forward, stretched this whole thing, like they did this whole amazing surgery, and she actually died 3 times after the surgery. So because it was so traumatic, like from having no oxygen to suddenly breaking this whole chakra open for her was so traumatic, and honestly, she has never been the same. It was like this force just came out of her once she got, it was like, whoom, this energy showed up just from air, as an example, right?
Wow.
So that's an interesting one. So you kind of like want to look at that pattern of breath and structures and strategies and how that whole thing will work together. So I've also known probably about 5 nuns that were born 816, which was pretty interesting. So, again, they like a structure. The religion is the structure, but the prayer and the singing, they were all into the choir and the singing and all that kind of stuff, the breathing. And what they did was they helped a lot of other people with sadness. So as they helped other people with their sadness, they helped themselves with their own sadness, right? So you can find people that are very good at helping other people, but why are they good at it? Because they are it, right? They understand it really well, okay?